I'm Mel.
And I'm Janelle.
And this is The Murder Mamas.
The Murder Mamas.
Why is the line red? Usually it's black. I just noticed that. I don't know.
Okay.
Anywho, we're just going to jump right into this one because it's going to be a long one.
A long one. And I personally have never heard it.
Yes.
So it is a first time for me.
We are going to talk about the toolbox killers.
I only know of the toy box.
Toy box was...
disgusting.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to kind of go back and forth. There are two of these perpetrators.
The perps.
The perps.
Are they vacuuming?
No, they're drilling holes
to hang up the backpacks.
To hang up the backpacks.
Okay, well, ignore any slight drilling noises you hear from the background with Mel's husband doing home reno projects.
Oh, okay. So there's two of them, and I'm going to kind of go back and forth talking about them. But
super excited.
Yeah, let's get it. Okay. Lawrence Sigmund Bittaker was... I
hate that name.
Sigmund, or Lawrence.
No, Sigmund.
Yeah.
No, you know.
Yeah, that's a bad one. Was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on September 27th, 1940, as the unwanted child of a couple who had chosen not to have children.
Oh.
He was placed in an orphanage by his birth mother and was adopted by Mr. and Mrs. George Bittaker as an infant. Bittaker's adopted father worked in the aviation industry, which required the family to frequently move around the United States throughout his childhood. Bittaker was first arrested for shoplifting at the age of 12 and obtained a minor criminal record over the next 4 years after further arrests for the same offense in addition to petty theft, which brought him to the detention of juvenile authorities. Bittaker would later claim these numerous theft-related offenses committed throughout his adolescence had been attempts to compensate for the lack of love he received from his parents. So I don't know. I couldn't find anywhere of them, like any sources that are wrongdoing of these parents. Yeah, they didn't do anything. They may have neglected a little bit.
Well, I wonder if he knew that he was adopted.
I think he did know. I mean, he was wanted by these people because they adopted him, so... I
mean, that's like the ultimate love, right?
Yeah, you would think.
But, maybe still feeling abandoned.
Yeah, sure.
Just by, his birth parents, if he knew.
Yeah, of course. Although reported to have an IQ of 138, Bittaker considered school to be a tedious experience and dropped out of high school in 1957.
138's high?
138's pretty high.
Okay. We always do this every time we mention an IQ.
138 is high, yeah.
Okay. Well, he's probably bored.
Yeah.
The curriculum wasn't stimulating enough, and he's like, fuck this.
Right. By this stage in his adolescence, he and his adoptive parents were living in California. Within a year of dropping out, he had been arrested for car theft, a hit and run, and evading arrest. For these offenses, he was imprisoned at the California Youth Authority, where he remained until he was 18 years old. Upon release, Bittaker discovered that his adoptive parents had disowned him and moved to another state. He would never see his adoptive parents again. So that's gotta be...
So they were just like, you're too much, bye.
Bye, yeah. He's 18, so...
Oh my God.
I know. But yeah, that's a lot to take in.
It's kind of cruel.
It is a little cruel.
So it makes you wonder if what he said
is
true.
Yeah.
Because
maybe.
I don't know. I feel like I love my kids so much. Even if they were total shitheads.
Right.
I would still love them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't support their behavior, but I would still love them and
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a hard spot.
That is a hard spot. Yep. All right, now we're going to talk about Roy Lewis Norris, who was born in Greeley, Colorado on February 5th, 1948.
What's going on with your words today?
I don't know.
February?
Norris was conceived out of wedlock. His parents had married to avoid the social stigma surrounding illegitimate birth at the time. Norris's extended family lived within a short distance of his parents' home due to his grandfather's real estate investments. His father worked in a scrapyard, and his mother was a drug-addicted housewife.
Oh.
Aren't we all? No, I'm just kidding.
Only one of us in this room. I'm just kidding.
He occasionally lived with his parents throughout his childhood and adolescence, but was repeatedly placed in the care of foster families throughout the state of Colorado.
So, like, his parents were just shit? Or,
Yeah,
like, his mom was, like, a drug addict?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
He kept getting taken away?
Both his parents were pieces of shit.
Okay.
Norris's childhood recollections were interspersed with memories of wrongful accusations while living with his biological parents and of being neglected by many of the foster families he lived with, frequently being denied by sufficient food or clothing. Yeah.
It's so sad.
It is sad.
Like, why would you foster?
Yeah, I don't know.
Just to neglect and abuse them? I mean, it's money, right? I don't know if they gave money to foster parents in that day and age, but now...
Yeah, they do.
It's like...
Yeah.
So sad.
It is.
There's that show, Shameless. Have you ever seen it?
Oh, yeah.
On Showtime, when they all get taken
best.
into foster care.
Yeah.
And that lady has, like, them making necklaces downstairs or whatever.
From McDonald's or something.
Exactly. That's what I think of. It's, like, awful.
It is awful.
Awful. And then I know people who foster and have adopted through foster care. And they're, like, the sweetest angels on earth.
Yeah.
So it's like,
of course,
the good and the bad.
Yeah, there's always that. Yeah. He also claimed to have been sexually abused when in the care of his Hispanic family, later stating the prejudice he held towards Hispanic people originated from the neglect and abuse he endured as a child when placed in the care of this family. So, there's that. While living with his birth parents at the age of 16, so he does go back to them, Norris visited the home of a female relative who was in her early 20s and began speaking to her in a sexually suggestive manner.
What is going on?
Wow, I can't talk. She ordered him to leave her house and informed Norris's father, who threatened to subject him to a beating. Norris subsequently stole his father's car and drove to the Rocky Mountains, where he attempted to commit suicide by injecting pure air into an artery in his arm.
Oh my God.
I know.
Okay.
I wouldn't even know
how to do that. Plus, this is like before the internet.
16. Yeah.
Right? Like.
Yeah, he was 16, so it was in the 60s.
How do you know how to do that? Where are you getting a needle?
Right.
And that's like hard fucking core.
That is hardcore.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Also a really dramatic response to like...
Yes. Very dramatic.
Wow.
He was later apprehended as a runaway and returned to live with his parents. Upon his home, Norris's parents informed him that he and his younger sister were unwanted children and that they intended to divorce when both reached adolescence. Can you believe
Jesus Christ. It was like such a different day and age.
It really was.
Jesus Christ. I know
At least they're staying with it. I don't know if that's better.
I was acquainted with someone once upon a time who their parents told him that they were getting a divorce on the day of his 18th birthday.
Jesus.
Like,
so he can remember that always.
I mean,
drilled into his brain.
He can't just like wait a week.
Yeah.
A month.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I like. Wow. Okay, so that seems pretty shitty for him.
Yeah.
I'm sure he does terrible things later, but I always feel bad for like the younger version.
But he's already been, A year later, Norris dropped out of school and joined the United States Navy.
Okay.
He was stationed in San Diego in 1965 and was deployed to serve in the Vietnam War in 1969, although he did not see active combat during his 4-month tour of duty. He was honorably discharged from the Navy after one tour.
Oh my God. One tour. Tour of duty.
Tour. Within days of his parole from the California... Youth Authority, Bittaker was arrested for transporting a stolen vehicle across state lines.
So we're going back to the other guy?
Yeah.
Okay.
In August 1959, Bittaker was sentenced to 18 months imprisonment to be served in the Oklahoma State Reformatory. He was later transferred to the Medical Center for Federal Prisoners in Springfield, Missouri to serve the remainder of his sentence.
So he's just getting moved all over the place.
All over the place.
Okay.
In 1960, Bittaker was released from prison and soon reverted to crime. Within months of his release, he had been arrested in Los Angeles for robbery and in May 1961 was sentenced to 15 years imprisonment. While incarcerated for this robbery, he was diagnosed by a psychiatrist as being highly manipulative.
They all are?
Shit.
Also, is this the guy who had the 38-page rap sheet from your job?
Yeah. Yes. Seriously. The psychiatrist also described Bittaker as, quote, having considerable concealed hostility.
What does that mean?
I would assume that means...
Like you're just seething beneath the surface, just waiting to explode.
Waiting to explode, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Bittaker was released on parole in 1963 after completing 2 years of his sentence. In October 1964, he was again in prison for parole violation. In 1966, Bittaker underwent further examination by 2 independent psychiatrists, both of whom classified him as a borderline psychopath, a highly manipulative individual unable to acknowledge the consequences of his actions. I don't know if there's why it's called a borderline. You're like, aren't you either a psychopath or you're not? You're a borderline psychopath? I'm pretty sure that means you're a psychopath.
Maybe you have like psychopathic tendencies? I don't know. I'm not a psychologist.
I don't know either.
I'm just a white lady with a true crime podcast who's soon to be unemployed, so don't ask me hard questions.
Okay. Bittaker explained to one of them that his criminal activities gave him a feeling of self-importance, although he insisted circumstantial matters pertaining to his environment and upbringing decreased his ability to resist committing crimes.
So, like, he knew things were wrong, but he just couldn't stop himself?
He just couldn't stop himself.
So he had the self-control of a toddler?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Bittaker was prescribed antipsychotic medication. A year later, he was again released into society. So he's been given several chances.
I'm assuming this is before the 3-strike rule?
Oh, yeah. Well,
okay.
The 3-strike rule was Clinton, wasn't it? I think it was Clinton that put that into motion.
You're older than I am. I'm sure you would know that better than I would. You're welcome.
Bringing that up.
You're welcome. It was intentional.
I know.
Could you tell by the grin on my face?
A month after his parole in July 1967, Bittaker was again arrested and convicted of theft and of leaving the scene of an accident. He was sentenced to 5 years but was released in April 1970.
So he's just like a menace to society.
Yeah, and just being released early by years.
But like he's not doing anything violent, right? No. Like he's just stealing. So there's no violent crimes.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not yet.
In March 1971, Bittaker was again arrested for burglary due to the...
For what?
Burglary.
For what?
Burglary.
Okay.
Burglary. Due to his repeated parole violations, he was sentenced to serve between 6 months and 15 years imprisonment.
That is a
long stretch.
That's like a wide range.
It's a really wide range.
Either you get less than a pregnancy, or like almost 2 decades. It's fine.
Yeah. 3 years later, Bittaker was again released from prison.
So was he good? Like a good prisoner?
I guess
Is there
so.
Anything that says like
I didn't read anything about that, but
okay. I'm assuming so.
In 1974, Bittaker was arrested for assault with attempted to commit murder after he stabbed a young supermarket employee who was accused him of stealing. The supermarket employee had observed Bittaker stealing a steak and had followed him outside into the store's parking lot, where he asked Bittaker whether he had forgotten to pay. Bittaker responded by stabbing his pursuer in the chest and narrowly missing his heart.
Oh my God.
He attempted to flee but was quickly restrained by 2 other supermarket employees. The employee, Gary Louie, survived the stabbing, and Bittaker was convicted of the lesser charge of assault with a deadly weapon and sent to California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo.
Also, like, no job is worth your life.
No.
Baby, take that steak.
Take a steak.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I think it's illegal now to go after, or not illegal, but like,
I know,
each store has their policy. Like, I don't think Walmart, you're not allowed to ask the people. You're supposed to just...
Well, and I know now, like, a lot of stores will let people steal up into, like, a certain dollar amount so that they can charge them with a felony instead of of like misdemeanor, like petty theft.
Oh.
So they'll just record and track people who are stealing regularly and wait till it hits that dollar amount.
Oh.
And then send someone to arrest them.
I guess that makes sense.
But like, how sad. Also, no, I'll never be that good of an employee.
No, take the steak.
Take it. I don't fucking care. Anything can be replaced. Take it.
Yeah.
Bye. Nothing's worth my life.
No.
And I feel like getting robbed at gunpoint and telling them no, like when I was younger.
Yeah.
When they tried to take my purse. Like now, I would be like, take whatever you want.
Take it.
I don't care.
Yeah.
There's nothing I need.
Yeah.
That I cannot replace.
Yeah. Except for your ID.
Yeah, I can replace my ID.
I know, but it takes so long.
Are you kidding? So here in Texas, it took me like 2 seconds. I lost
really?
my ID recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like last month. And I just went online.
Yeah.
And ordered another one for $10 and they mailed it to me. It was so simple. And you like printed a temporary one.
Huh.
So anyone in Texas, replacing your ID is super simple.
Didn't know it was that easy.
Very easy.
Right. That's pretty cool. In November 1969, Norris was arrested for his first known sexual offenses. So this is the other guy.
Okay.
He was charged with both rape and assault with attempt to commit rape. In the latter incident, he had
I'm sorry. Rape and assault with attempt to commit
and
rape?
assault with attempt to commit rape.
But he raped someone. I'm
Yes.
confused.
Yes.
Okay.
In the latter incident, he had attempted to force his way into the car of a lone woman. 3 months later, in February 1970, Norris attempted to deceive a lone woman into allowing him to enter her home. When the woman refused, he attempted to break into her house. The woman phoned the police, who arrested Norris before he had an opportunity to cause the woman any harm.
Oh, they were two separate incidents.
Yeah, so they were two separate incidents.
So I'm just dumb and didn't
No,
realize we were talking about two separate things.
Well, I could have said that too.
So it's you.
It's me. Less than 3 months after this offense, Norris was diagnosed by military psychologists with severe schizoid personality. He was given an administrative discharge from the Navy under the terms labeled as psychological problems.
Okay.
So, in May 1970, Norris, on bail from his latest offense, attacked a female student whom he had been stalking on the grounds of San Diego State University campus.
Oh, cute.
Norris repeatedly struck her in the back of the head with a rock until she slumped to her knees before he repeatedly beat her in the head on the sidewalk as he knelt upon her lower back.
Wow. That's
rough. Shortly thereafter, Norris was charged with assault with a deadly weapon. He was committed to 5 years imprisonment at the Atascadero State Hospital, where he was classified as a mentally disordered sex offender.
Wow.
Yeah.
He really ramped up quick.
Yeah. Norris was released from the Atascadero State Hospital in 1975 with 5 years probation, having been declared by doctors as an individual who was of, quote, no further danger to others, unquote. Just 3 months after his release, Norris approached a 27-year-old woman walking home from a restaurant in Redondo Beach and offered her a ride on his motorcycle. When she declined, Norris parked his motorcycle and grabbed the woman's scarf, twisting it around her neck before informing her he intended to rape her and dragging her into the nearby bushes. Fearing for her life, the woman did not resist the rape.
Mm-hmm.
Although the rape was reported to police, they were initially unable to find the perpetrator. However, 1 month later, the victim observed Norris's motorcycle and noticed the license plate, which she immediately gave to police. Norris was arrested for the rape. 1 year later, he was tried and convicted for this offense and sent to the California Men's Colony in San Luis Obispo.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. While incarcerated at the colony, Norris met and befriended Bittaker.
Double dun dun dun. Some foreshadowing here.
Bittaker and Norris initially became loosely acquainted in 1977, 1 year after Norris arrived at San Luis Obispo. Bittaker's initial impression of Norris upon his arrival at the California Men's Colony was that he was a savvy individual who largely associated with hardened criminals from motorcycle gangs, in addition to dealing in contraband drugs. The pair gradually became more closely acquainted and began talking in friendly terms when Norris taught Bittaker how to construct jewelry.
What a dainty thing to be doing.
Right?
Like, these hardened, disgusting criminals.
We
just
choose to make some jewelry for our work.
I wonder what it looked like.
Yeah.
Was it beaded?
Probably a bead.
Or, like, silver? I imagine they didn't give them many tools.
No.
Right?
I wouldn't think so.
So, like, bead and string.
Yeah.
Do you remember those beads you would use to make, like, animals? And then you'd make them like keychains off your backpack?
Yep.
I don't know why I'm thinking of this right now. Also, the ones where you would put the little, like, dots and then you'd put them in the oven and they'd shrink.
Yep.
My kids really want to do those.
Do they? Yeah. Are they still around?
Yeah, we saw some at Michael's when we were getting some painting supplies. Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
I feel like that's something Avery would like. Is she crafty?
Yeah.
She likes crafts.
She likes crafts.
Yeah.
Yeah. According to Norris, Bittaker saved him from being attacked by fellow inmates on at least 2 occasions. By 1978, the pair had become close acquaintances, discovering they shared an interest in sexual violence and misogyny, with Norris also divulging to Bittaker the biggest stimulation for him was of seeing a frightened young woman, adding this was the primary reason he had amassed a lengthy record for sexual offenses.
Oh.
Yeah.
You know, the things you bond over.
Bittaker, who is not known to have committed any sexual offenses prior to his meeting of Norris, himself divulged to Norris that if he ever raped a woman, he would kill her so as not to leave a witness to the crime.
Dun, dun, dun.
Bittaker was released from the California men's... Oh, excuse me. When alone, the pair regularly discussed plans to assault and murder teenage girls after they were released. This shared fantasy evolved into an elaborate plan to murder one girl of each teenage year from 13 through 19. The pair vowed to become reacquainted once they were released.
Oh.
Isn't that disgusting?
So, like, they want to find a victim for each age?
For each age of them being a teenager. Yeah.
No.
Bittaker was released from the California men's colony on October 15th, 1978. He returned to Los Angeles and found work as a skilled machinist. This work earned Bittaker close to $1,000 a week, which is
pretty good.
Way good. Yeah.
In 1978,
yeah. Mm-hmm. And despite classifying himself as a loner, he became friendly with several people in his neighborhood, earning a reputation as a generous and helpful individual who occasionally donated money to the Salvation Army.
Wow.
I know, right? On one occasion, he is known to have purchased large quantities of fast food and wine, which he then handed to homeless individuals in downtown Los Angeles.
I like that he gave them wine.
Wine.
Instead of, like, water.
Right.
Or, like, Gatorade or something. Some form of sports drink. Or even soda.
Yeah.
Just here's some wine.
Here's some wine.
We'll cut the bullshit. I know what you're going to do with this anyways.
Right. Bittaker was particularly popular among the local teenagers, and later admitted the primary reason he always had beer and marijuana in his Burbank motel was that the residence would remain a popular place for teenagers to socialize.
So he made $1,000 a week but lived in a motel?
Yeah.
That seems weird.
I know. I think he wanted to.
That seems weird.
Yeah. Well, because then he could be around all the teenagers.
That seems weird.
Yeah. It's still weird. 3 months after Bittaker was released from the California men's colony on January 15th, 1979, Norris was released from prison and moved into his mother's home in Redondo Beach. Within 1 month of his release, he had raped a woman with whom he had simply abandoned in a desert. He abandoned her in the desert then. So I don't know if she's dead or alive. I couldn't find anything on that.
A month?
Yeah.
You're out a month?
A month. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Shortly thereafter, he received a letter from Bittaker. In late February, the pair met at a hotel and rekindled their plan to kidnap and rape girls.
I'm sorry, but, like, how did he know he was out and, like, his address? How do people do anything before phones and the internet?
I don't know. I think because he had to go back to live with his mom. Mm-hmm. So I think he probably gave him...
he gave him the address.
The address.
Well, that makes perfect sense.
That's just what I was thinking, but...
And like, hey, I'm supposed to get out around this date. Send me a fucking letter, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. I'm an idiot. Okay.
It's just a guess, though. I mean, I don't know. Could be wrong. Okay. He soon found employment as an electrician in Compton. Shortly after, he received a letter from Bittaker. Okay. In late February, the pair met at a hotel and rekindled their plan to kidnap and rape girls. In order for the pair to abduct teenage girls, Bittaker decided they would need a van as opposed to a car. With financial assistance from Norris, Bittaker purchased a silver gray 1977 GMC Vandura in February 1979. The vehicle was windowless on one side and had a large passenger sliding door. According to Bittaker, when the viewing of the sliding door, he realized he or Norris could, quote, pull up to a teenage girl real close and not have to open the doors all the way, unquote. The pair would nickname this the Murder Mac.
I hate that so much.
I know.
And also, is this the reason why we're afraid of windowless vans?
Yes.
This is them?
This is it.
Okay.
From February to June 1979, Bittaker and Norris picked up over 20 female hitchhikers. The pair did not assault these girls in any manner. These practice runs were merely a way for them to develop ruses to lure the girls into the van voluntarily and discovering secluded locations.
It shouldn't have been that hard. They were hitchhikers.
I know. A lot of them. In late April, the pair found an isolated fire road in the San Gabriel Mountains. Bittaker broke open the locked gate with a crowbar and replaced the lock with one he owned.
That's like super smart.
I know, right?
That's really smart.
That is pretty smart.
I hate how smart that is.
Mm-hmm. Bittaker and Norris killed their first...
Shithead, that's really smart.
Right?
Because who's going to check that or, like, notice that, really?
Not for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bittaker and Norris killed their first victim, 16-year-old Lucinda Lynn Schaefer, on June 24th, 1979. Schaefer was last seen leaving a Presbyterian church meeting in Redondo Beach. In his written accounts of the events of this day, Bittaker stated that he and Norris first finished constructing the bed the pair had installed in the rear of the van, beneath which they placed tools, clothes, and a cooler filled with beer and soft drinks. At approximately 11 a.m., the pair drove to the beach area, drinking beer, smoking grass, and flirting with girls. We had no... I know, smoking grass.
It's like such a 70s term for getting high.
Oh, I love it. We had no set routine. At approximately 7:46 p.m., Norris spotted Schaefer walking down the side of a street and remarked to Bittaker, "There's a cute little blonde." After unsuccessfully attempting to entice Schaefer into their van with alternative offers of marijuana and a lift home, Bittaker and Norris drove further ahead and parked alongside a driveway. Norris then exited the vehicle, opened the passenger side doors, and leaned into the van with his head and shoulders obscured from the view behind the door. When Schaefer passed the van, Norris exchanged a few words with her before dragging her into the van and closing the door. Using a ruse they would repeat in most of their subsequent murders, Bittaker turned the radio to full volume as Norris bound the victim's arms and legs and gagged her with duct tape as Bittaker drove Schaefer to the fire road in the San Gabriel Mountains where, in April, the pair had previously switched the locks. So, yeah. Despite initially screaming when she was abducted, Schaefer quickly regained her composure. In his written account of the night that followed, Bittaker wrote that Schaefer, quote, displayed a magnificent state of self-control and composed acceptance of the conditions of which she had no control. She shed no tears, offered no resistance, and expressed no great concern for her safety. I guess she knew what was coming, unquote.
Oh.
I know. That's really sad. She just gave up. At the fire road.
Like, did she give up, or do you think she thought maybe if she was, like, compliant, it would go better for her?
Maybe.
But, like...
That didn't work out. Yeah. Yeah, because you never know. Like, do you want to fight, or do you want to...
Yeah. I feel asleep.
Yeah. At the fire road, Norris first raped Schaefer after instructing Bittaker to, quote, go take a walk and return in 1 hour. Upon returning to the van, Bittaker similarly raped the girl in Norris's absence. Upon the second
So they didn't do anything in front of each other?
No, they wouldn't. They didn't like doing that. They'd have to, like, go take a walk and do it separately. Yeah.
That seems weird to me.
I know, right?
I don't know why that seems weird to me, though.
I don't know.
It's so fucked up what you're doing anyway.
Right.
Like, that's where you draw the line.
Right. You don't want to look at some other man. Yeah.
Okay.
Upon returning to the van, Bittaker... Oh, I did that. Upon the second occasion in which she was raped by Norris in Bittaker's absence, Schaefer asked him whether they intended to kill her, to which Norris replied no. In response, Schaefer requested to be allowed time to pray before she was killed, if that's what Bittaker and Norris's intentions were. In their I know. In their subsequent accounts of the actual murder, Bittaker and Norris gave differing accounts as to who argued over whether they should kill her rather than release her. Each stated the other guy argued that they should kill her. In any event, Schaefer pleaded for only a second to pray before Norris attempted to manually strangle her. After approximately 45 seconds, he became disturbed at the, quote, look in her eyes and ran to the front of the van vomiting. Bittaker then manually strangled Schaefer until she collapsed to the ground and began convulsing. He then twisted a wire coat hanger around her neck with vice grip pliers until Schaefer's convulsions ceased. Schaefer was denied her request to pray before Bittaker and Norris killed her. How sad is that?
God.
I know.
It just seems so, like...
Yeah.
Unnecessarily violent. And, like, cruel.
Cruel, yeah.
I don't know, like a wire hanger?
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems like... With a vice, like...
Yeah, they showed it when it was off the neck, and they showed it was, like, this big around where they had turned it.
Just, like...
So it had literally crushed their neck. It was tiny, the hole that I saw.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Schaefer's body, what?
I was going to say something, but then my brain stopped the thought. No. So this is all their accounts of, like, the murders.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Schaefer's body was wrapped in a plastic shower curtain and thrown over a steep canyon Bittaker had selected. According to Norris, after Bittaker had thrown Schaefer over the canyon, Bittaker assured him, quote, the animals would eat her up, so there wouldn't be any evidence left, unquote. On July 8th, 1979, 2 weeks after the murder of Schaefer, Bittaker and Norris encountered 18-year-old Andrea Joy Hall hitchhiking along the Pacific Coast Highway. As the pair slowed the van to offer Hall a lift, another vehicle pulled over and offered Hall exactly that, which she accepted. Bittaker and Norris followed the vehicle from a distance until Hall exited the vehicle in Redondo Beach. On this occasion, Norris hid in the back of the van in order to dupe Hall into believing Bittaker was traveling alone. Inside the van, Bittaker offered Hall a cold drink from the cooler in the rear of the van. Norris, who had hidden behind a bedspread in the rear of the van, pounced on Hall when she attempted to retrieve the drink, and after a strenuous fight managed to subdue her by twisting her arm behind her back, causing her to scream in pain. Norris then gagged Hall with adhesive tape and bound her wrists and ankles.
How fucked up. They didn't, like, try to find someone else. They just followed.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I know. Bittaker and Norris drove Hall to a location in the San Gabriel Mountains beyond where they had taken Schaefer. At this location, she was raped twice by Bittaker and once by Norris. While Bittaker was raping Hall for the second time, Norris saw what he believed to be a vehicle headlights approaching. Bittaker clasped his hand over Hall's mouth and dragged her nearby bushes as Norris drove in an unsuccessful search for the vehicle he thought he had seen. When he returned, the pair drove to a location farther into the San Gabriel Mountains. Bittaker forced Hall to walk up a hill naked alongside the road and then to perform oral sex on him, before ordering Hall to pose for several Polaroid pictures. Polaroid pictures. Oh my God, I can't speak today. Oh.
Polaroid pictures. That's awful.
That is awful. Bittaker and Norris drove Hall to a third location where Bittaker again walked Hall up a nearby hill, this time as Norris drove to a nearby store to purchase alcohol. When Norris returned, Bittaker was alone and in his possession of 2 further Just say it. Polaroid. I still can't say it. Just not happening today. Pictures he had taken, both which depicted Hall's face and expressions Norris later described as being of sheer terror, as she begged for her life to be spared. Bittaker informed Norris he had told Hall that he was going to kill her and challenged her to give him as many reasons as she could to come up with as to why she should be allowed to live.
That's so fucked up.
Yeah, that is. Before thrusting the ice pick into her ear.
Oh.
He then turned her body over and thrust the ice pick into the other ear, stomping on it until the handle broke. Bittaker then strangled Hall before throwing her body off a cliff. I'm not quite sure why he would have to strangle her after putting an ice pick through both ears. Pretty sure that would kill you. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's like so...
Mm-hmm.
An ice pick.
Mm-hmm. That's a rough one.
That had to fucking hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you just have to assume it was quick, right?
Yeah,
like,
I would think so.
You gotta hope. That's rough.
Yeah. On September 3rd, Bittaker and Norris observed 2 girls named Jackie Doris Gilliam and Jacqueline Leah Lamp sitting on a bus stop bench near Hermosa Beach. Lamp and Gilliam had been hitchhiking along the Pacific Coast Highway before Bittaker and Norris observed them as they were resting at a bus stop. Bittaker and Norris offered the girls a ride, which Gilliam and Lamp accepted. Inside the van, both girls were offered marijuana by Norris, which they accepted. Shortly after entering the van, both girls realized that Bittaker had steered the van off the Pacific Coast Highway and was driving in the direction of the San Gabriel Mountains.
How far away are the mountains from, like, town?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not familiar with that area of California.
I'm not really either.
Okay.
When the girls protested, both Bittaker and Norris attempted to allay the girls' concerns with excuses, which did not deceive either girl. Lamp, aged 13, attempted to open the sliding door, whereupon Norris hit her on the back of the head with a bag filled with lead weights, briefly knocking her unconscious before overpowering 15-year-old Gilliam. As he began to bind and gag Gilliam, Lamp regained consciousness and again attempted to flee the van, whereupon Norris twisted her arm behind her back and dragged her back into the van. As this struggle ensued, Bittaker, noting the girl's struggle, was in full view of potential witnesses, stopped the van, punched Gilliam in the face, and assisted Norris in finishing binding and gagging the 2 girls. So they were, like, in view of public doing this.
So they weren't in the van?
They were in the van, but it was, like, in...
But it's, like, windowless, right?
Yeah. Well, just on one side.
Oh, so the other side had windows.
The other side had windows. Yeah. Gilliam and Lamp were driven to the San Gabriel Mountains, where they were held captive for almost 2 days, being bound and gagged between repeatedly instances of sexual and physical abuse. Both men slept in the van alongside their 2 hostages, with each alternatively acting as a lookout. On one occasion, Bittaker walked Lamp onto a nearby hill and forced her to pose for pornographic pictures before returning her to the van. Bittaker also asked Norris to take several
Polaroids
pictures of himself and Gilliam, both nude and clothed. In the first of 3 instances in which Bittaker raped Gilliam, he also created a tape recording of himself raping her, forcing the girl to pretend she was his cousin and informing Gilliam to feel free to express her pain.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Bittaker is also known to have tortured and stabbed Gilliam by stabbing her breast with an ice pick and using vice grip pliers to tear off one part of her nipple.
Oh.
After almost 2 days in captivity, Lamp and Gilliam were murdered. At Bittaker's subsequent trial, Norris claimed he had suggested that Gilliam be killed quickly, as unlike Lamp, she had been largely cooperative throughout the period of her captivity, where Bittaker replied, "No, they only die once anyway." Gilliam was struck in each ear with an ice pick and then strangled to death.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Fuck.
After Bittaker had murdered Gilliam, he forced Lamp out of the van. Upon exiting the sliding door, Bittaker shouted to her, "You wanted to stay a virgin, now you can die a virgin," before Norris struck upon her head with a sledgehammer. Bittaker then strangled Lamp until he believed she had died. When Lamp opened her eyes, Norris again bludgeoned her repeatedly as Bittaker strangled her to death.
Did they rape her?
No, not her.
Ugh.
The bodies of Gilliam and Lamp were thrown over an embankment into trees and bushes.
And they just, like, throw them away like garbage.
Throw them away, yeah. I know.
You know, like...
It's sad.
Like a litter or something. Like, it's
trash.
So fucking disgusting.
It is. A human
I
body.
hate the ice pick.
Yeah, the ice pick
like,
is pretty bad.
Creates, like, this...
Yeah.
Literally squirming across from you. Just like, oh.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Wow.
Bittaker and Norris abducted their final victim, 16-year-old Shirley Lynette Ledford, on October 31st, 1979. Ledford was abducted as she stood outside a gas station hitchhiking home from a Halloween party in the Sunland suburb of Los Angeles.
Quick question?
Yeah.
Did they completely abandon the whole plan, like the 13 through 19-year-old thing?
It doesn't really mention that they got one at 13, one at 14. I don't think they knew, actually.
Okay, so that plan got abandoned.
I think it did.
They were like, who cares?
Yeah.
Let's just fucking kill people.
Yeah.
We actually don't give a shit about that.
I don't think
have
they
to be
really
young
did.
girls.
Yeah.
And let's kill them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Investigators believe Ledford accepted a ride home from Bittaker and Norris because she recognized Bittaker, as he is known to have frequented the restaurant in which Ledford held a part-time job as a waitress. Upon accepting the offer of a lift home and entering the van, Ledford was offered marijuana by Norris, which she refused. Bittaker drove the van to a secluded street where Norris drew a knife, then bound and gagged Ledford with construction tape.
What's construction tape?
I don't know.
Like heavy, like duct tape?
Yeah, probably like duct tape. Bittaker then traded places with Norris, who drove in an aimless manner for in excess of an hour as Bittaker remained with Ledford in the back of the van. After removing the construction tape from the girl's mouth and legs, Bittaker tormented Ledford, initially slapping and mocking her, then beating her with his fists as he repeatedly shouted for her to, quote, say something. Then, as Ledford began screaming, shouting for her to scream louder. As Ledford continued screaming, Bittaker began asking her as he struck her, "What's the matter? Don't you like to scream?"
I fucking hate this dude.
I know. As Ledford began to cry, she pleaded with Bittaker, repeatedly saying, "No, don't touch me." In response, Bittaker again ordered her to scream as loud as she wished, then began alternatively striking her with a hammer, beating her breast with fists, and torturing her with the pliers, both repeatedly and throughout instances when he raped and sodomized her. Repeatedly, Ledford can be heard pleading for the abuse and the cease, and making statements such as, "Ow, no," as sounds of Bittaker alternatively extracting either the sledgehammer or the pliers from the toolbox can be heard on a tape recorded he had switched on after entering the rear of the van. Norris later described hearing screams, constant screams, emanating from the rear of the van as he drove.
What a fucked up dude.
Yeah.
Jesus.
He's a pretty, yeah.
This poor girl.
Shortly after Norris switched places with Bittaker, he himself switched on the tape recorder that Bittaker had used to record much of the time he had been in the rear of the van with Ledford. Norris first shouted for Ledford to go ahead and scream, or I'll make you scream. In response, Ledford pleaded, "I'll scream if you stop hitting me." Then he emitted several high-pitched screams as Norris encouraged her to continue until he ordered her to stop.
So are they, like, competing with each other?
I don't know, but yeah.
Like, it seems really,
it
like...
It does seem like that.
Who can be the most fucked up and, like, make them do the most. Like, make their captors do the most.
Maybe. Norris then reached for the sledgehammer as Ledford, seeing him do this, screamed, "Oh no!" Norris then struck Ledford once upon the elbow. In response, she informed Norris that he had broken her elbow before pleading, "Don't hit me again." In response, Norris again raised the sledgehammer as Ledford repeatedly screamed, "No." Norris then proceeded to strike Ledford 25 consecutive times upon the same elbow with the sledgehammer before asking her, "What are you sniveling about?" as Ledford continuously screamed and wept.
25 times?
25 times the same elbow.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah. After approximately 2 hours of captivity, Norris strangled Ledford by strangling her with a wire coat hanger, which he tightened with pliers. Ledford did not react much to the act of strangulation, although she died with her eyes open. Bittaker then opted to discard her body on a random lawn in order to view the reaction from the press. The pair drove to a randomly selected house in Sunland where Norris discarded Ledford's body in a bed of ivy upon the front lawn. Ledford's body was found by a jogger the following morning. An autopsy revealed that in addition to having been sexually violated, she had died of strangulation after receiving extensive blunt force trauma to the face, head, breasts, and left elbow. Her genitalia and rectum had been torn, caused in part by Bittaker having inserted pliers inside her body. In addition, her left hand bore a puncture wound and a finger on her right hand had been slashed. Poor thing, yeah.
Pliers inside her body?
Inside her body, I know.
Oh my God. Also, this is like this is their last one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like completely different than the other ones. They don't take them to the mountains.
No.
They leave her outside.
Yeah.
So, like, did they just want more publicity? Like, what?
Yeah, they wanted to shock everybody, so they left her on someone's lawn to be found.
What fucked up dudes.
Yeah. Bittaker would later claim the tape recording the pair had created of Ledford's clear abuse and tortured offered nothing other than the evidence of a threesome, adding that toward the very end, Ledford was screaming for him and Norris to kill her. Yeah. Highly doubt that's what happened.
I don't know, like, I don't know of many threesomes ending with someone getting their elbow sledgehammered 25 fucking times
yeah.
and pliers inserted in their vagina.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure even, like, super kinky stuff has, like, safe words and stuff.
Yep.
Wow.
Okay, so we're going to stop here for today, and this is going to be a two-parter, and next we're going to talk about mainly the trial of them.
Okay.
And maybe a couple other things as well.
I hated it.
Yeah. It's pretty bad. They're pretty bad people.
The ice pick.
The ice pick is really bad.
It's like, just...
Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah. So,
ugh.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for telling us that terrible story.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Come back next week to hear the rest.
Yeah. You can find us on Instagram at
The Murder Mamas.
And Twitter.
The Murder Mamas.
And Facebook.
The M Mamas. Because you can't say murder on Facebook.
Uh-huh. Email. Gmail.
TheMurderMamas@gmail.com.
Yep.
It's not a question. It was a statement. The inflection of my voice made it sound like it was a question.
So that's all. Thanks
Thank you
for listening.
Bye.
Bye.